So I have owned Mordhau for about 4 to 5 days now, and I've already put 23 hours into the game. I am addicted to this game. It is really fun. It's super fun with friends. It's really fun by yourself, and it's just super addicting. I mean, the swordplay is really nice. When you kill someone, it feels so great, especially when you're in an epic duel with someone who's evenly matched with you, and you kill them, or even if you're facing a player who's really way up there on the leaderboard and you kill them, and it just feels so satisfying. It's like you feel so accomplished and you're always wanting more of that feeling. So yeah, I'm addicted to the game and I'm having a blast playing it. When I first started, I was terrible, and eventually the more I played, the better I got at it, and now I'm finding myself more on the top more often than not. And I made a little mental note of things that really improved my play, that made me a better player, improved my skill, and improved my experience overall. So that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today with you guys. So it's just to help lay, basically give you a good foundation to be a player, and then eventually branch off and become even better and really tune into your skills. So tip number 1, focus on the objectives. I know that seems pretty obvious, but you'll be surprised how many people who don't do that. I've been on entire teams where most of the players do not push for objectives, they don't defend objectives, and it could be very frustrating. And going for objectives means you're a team player. It means you're willing to help out your team, and of course, capturing these objectives will give you lots of points, and that will help you skyrocket on the leaderboard. It is really important. If you want to win, you've got to work together as a team. You got to fight together as a team, and you got to defend together as a team. And if you're going for the objectives, it means you're a team player. It means that most of your allies are going to be near that objective, because if you go around by yourself, you'll end up getting overwhelmed by enemies, and it doesn't matter how good of a fighter you are. If you're getting triple teamed, double teamed, it's going to be a very bad experience. So if you're near the objectives, you're going to have friendlies nearby that can help you out. Sometimes they hurt you with some friendly fire. We'll get to that later. But they're going to be nearby to support you. And also, there's going to be enemies nearby that are going to be fighting your teammates. It's going to give you opportunities to help finish off the kill or support your teammates in their battle. So I am a huge advocate of teamwork. And that brings me to the second tip. Stabbing is your friend. Stabbing is a very easy ability. It's a very easy attack that it doesn't take much skill. The reason it's really good, it doesn't do a lot of damage, but it's a very distant attack, as in it keeps the distance between you and the enemy pretty far away, and it's a very fast attack. So oftentimes people can't block it, or they aren't expecting it. And again, sure, it doesn't do a lot of damage, but it could really help you out a ton, especially in team fights. I really want to stress this out because a lot of new players just close their eyes and they swing away, doing a ton of friendly damage and hurting themselves more than helping, or hurting the team more than helping. The next tip I want to give you guys is looking for bloody enemies. So some people don't realize when you kill an enemy with a melee weapon, you actually gain health. So when you're in a big team fight, there's a lot of enemies nearby. Of course, don't aggressively go after the bloody soldier just because he's bloody. But if he's nearby, say you're getting double teamed, right? And there's one soldier who's bloody who's fighting you, and there's another one who's not. Usually go for the bloody guy, because if you kill him, that's one less person, right? He's closer to death, so now it's a much better fight for you. And 2, you get health back, which is extremely important. So again, this is a tip that I want to say with caution, because I don't mean purposely only go after the bloody soldiers. And when I say by bloody soldiers, again, I want to stress that means they're almost dead, right? If they have clean armor on, it usually means they have much more health. So going for the bloody soldiers, getting them out of the way, that's one less enemy you have to deal with, and you get health back. something to consider. Look out for them. I do it many times, especially when I'm getting double teamed. If I can quickly take care of the one who's near death, and then now it's an even fight, a 1v1, and also I got health back from that. So just look out for them, and it's really going to do you wonders. So the next tip is another obvious one that I feel like a lot of newer players don't really pay attention to. Newer players tend to want to just spawn, rush into the battle, close their eyes and swing, and then die, and then respawn and repeat. Well, you definitely want to be patient because you can regenerate health. The way it works is that as long as your fatigue bar is full and you're not using anything that uses up your fatigue, like jumping, swinging, blocking. If you're walking, that's fine, just don't sprint. Your health will regenerate on its own. So it takes a little bit of time, but you will find opportunities during the game where you can kind of sit back for a second, heal up, and then go back into the fight. Whether you have a lot of health or a tiny bit of health, you will regenerate that health again, and it could save your life. And speaking of survivability, again, it's really important to try to stay alive as possible. It really helps your team out. Sometimes you'll find yourself surrounded by enemies and there's no teammates nearby. And that will happen a lot, whether you're being really cautious about your positioning or if you're being super aggressive. You can find yourself surrounded by 2 people, 3 people, 4, or even 5 people, which it gets rough. But my advice for when you are surrounded, just focus on blocking and backing up, trying to get to your teammates while blocking. It's just a really crappy situation. Sometimes this happens. A lot of the times it happens. And I find that again, if you get better at the game, you will be able to understand, oh, I'm outnumbered, but I can attack here, get a kill. That's one less enemy to worry about. You know, there will be opportunities when you need to get aggressive when you are surrounded by enemies. But if you are newer to the game, I feel like just focusing on blocking, focusing on staying alive as long as possible will be better for you and your team. So my next tip is to get familiar with the different types of weapons. This is something that you'll naturally understand the more you play, but if you want to do it at a faster rate, really pay attention to what you're dying to. So whenever you die, maybe you died to someone who has a cleaver. Well, what happened? Well, he attacked you really fast. So now that you understand, I mean, it's pretty, and I'm not saying like know what every single weapon does exactly. You know what I mean? Like, okay, the Warhammer goes this fast and the Greatsword goes this fast. I'm not meaning that. I'm meaning, okay, does the enemy have a big weapon in his hand? Well, that means his swings are going to be much slower. That means you don't want to block too early. That means you'll know how to fight it. Oh, he swung. Well, then you attack quickly. You know, things like that. One type of player I hated were spear players. I could never beat them. They would just stab and stab so quickly until I finally figured out, like, okay, to beat spears, you want to get in their face, maybe get a kick in, maybe get a stab in yourself, and do some feinting, which I wanted to get to the next tip, feinting. Doing feint attacks are extremely effective. This one tip alone, it is a bit more skilled based, something you got to work on a little bit. It's not too hard. Feinting will make you get way more kills. Now, I do want to warn you guys. Usually, the newer the player, the less feinting is effective because newer players, like I said, like to close their eyes and swing. So this tends to work a little bit better to a bit more experienced players because usually you get into a flow of things when you're in these battles where you attack, they block. Then they attack, you block. And you kind of get into this pattern. Well, feinting disrupts that pattern where you feint, they block, and then you go for the next attack. And because they just blocked, they won't be able to recover from that block, and you're going to hit them. Learning to feint is really effective. And my best advice to you guys about feinting is to do it excessively when you're learning it. Like every person you face, feint. You know, that way you kind of build that muscle memory, and then eventually it'll be second nature where you feint all the time, and you'll go into a flow, and it's just super effective, and it will help you get a ton of kills. So my next tip for you guys is to be aggressive. I know that's kind of like a general statement. Like, what exactly does that mean? Does that mean charge into 5 enemies, 5v1? No, don't be that aggressive. That's just suicidal. But what I mean by be aggressive is be the one to throw the first swing, right? Be the one that's swinging first, because I feel like when I first started playing, I would try to defend everything, right? I wanted to just stay alive and defend everything. But that's actually bad, because when you're the one throwing the punches, you are the one kind of controlling the fight. You're the one setting the pace for the fight. And if your opponent is constantly just trying to keep up with your attacks, eventually they're going to make a mistake. And this is what I mean. Like, you're constantly swinging, right? And then you do your feint, they block, and then you kill them, right? That's where, again, feinting and being aggressive is very, like, 2 good tips that work very nicely together. And this is something that you'll get better at as you play, being aggressive, knowing when to let up, knowing when to be more aggressive. Again, just keep in mind that you don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to throw some swings, and don't be afraid to die, because that's how you get better. Put yourself into really bad situations and try to get yourself out, and that will make you a better player. Again, making mistakes is the best way to learn, and being aggressive I have found to be extremely effective in getting kills. So again, just play the game more and to be a team player. If that's the nutshell of this, the nutshell message of this video, be a team player, play more, help your teammates, and you're gonna have a fun time and you're gonna do better. So that's gonna pretty much wrap it up here for this tip video. I do want to say that I have my own private server that I will be streaming on. So the best way to get involved, if you want to take part, join me in these battles, join my Discord. There's a link to it down below. That's where I will post the password to get into the server. Also, my YouTube members will have priority in they'll get the password first. That way they have a chance of joining, because I can imagine it's going to fill up pretty quick since it's only 64 players. So if you want to really secure a spot, supporting my channel and becoming a member will be a huge help. And I do appreciate those of you even just considering it. So yeah, join the Discord. I'll keep you updated on the Discord as well. Also following me on Twitter. That's another place to so you can find out when I'm streaming and stuff. So thank you guys so much. Again, I hope this video helps the newer players, and even if you aren't new, maybe you learned something new. But thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next time on the battlefield.